welcome to another installment in our Lipedema Channel series. We interview inspiring women who have made peace with their condition, who are managing it effectively, and who want to encourage you to do the same. And I saw this beautiful lady on Instagram and I said, I got to interview LysaMarie Matamoros. It's so nice to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It is my joy and pleasure. And what I love about yours, there are many facets to LysaMarie's story. One is how intertwined her life has been with her mother, who had both lipedema and lymphedema. Is that where we should start in this interview, LysaMarie?
I don't know. It's just
Well,
so much. I'll follow you.
Yeah, tell me about your mother. Tell me, when did you first notice that there was something different about you? And was it something similar that you saw in your mother?
Well, since I was little, I've always had bigger legs than other kids. And I've always felt self-conscious because, you know, kids aren't the nicest. Okay. But my mom used to just tell me, well, we're part German and we have bigger body parts. That's what she would tell me. And I'd say, okay. And I just accepted it, even though I didn't like it. But as I got older, my mom got older, I noticed that no matter what she did to try to lose weight, she couldn't lose weight. And I cared for her about 25 years. When she got in her late 40s, it started getting worse. And during caring for her, we didn't really know what lipedema was or lymphedema, and my mom was diabetic, so she had numerous diseases and issues with her body, and she wasn't someone that taught us how to eat when we were growing up. She wasn't into any of that because my mom really didn't have parents, so she didn't really know how to be a parent or really anything. Okay, so I wasn't really taught any of the things that other people were taught. But as she got older and she started like not being able to walk or getting little, like even the little sounds in your ankle that click when you have this disease, right? All these little tiny things, I would get them and I'd think, why do I have that? But then I'd go right back to, well, we're German and maybe, you know, I would just make an excuse for it.
The things that parents say, I was telling someone recently, my mom always said, if I ate bread crust, I would have curly hair. And we believe it because they're our parents.
True. I didn't know what else to believe.
So did she get diagnosed? Was she diagnosed and was she able to manage her condition?
They did not tell my mom that she had lipedema ever. Okay, so I never knew. And I did know she had lymphedema. And when I asked her, well, why are your legs blowing up so much? She said, I have lymphedema. Okay, well, what can we do to fix that? Since I was her caretaker, I needed to know. But my mom had a really bad attitude at that point because she was just physically exhausted and mentally exhausted with dealing, because her whole life was doctors and medication. And she wasn't one to, she was just one to give up really physically, not mentally or spiritually, but physically. She was just too tired. She was a mess physically, you know? So I had a lot of fear watching my mom go through different things, or even these little things she used to get on her legs, like little tiny brown dots. And I thought, why am I getting those brown dots? Or why is my ankle always swollen if I'm driving far or if I'm on an airplane? Or so I would get all these fears, but I would shove it down because I was the backbone of the family. I took care of her. I was raising a son alone. I had to work and take care of them and support them. So I really didn't have time for that.
Right.
But when my mom passed away almost like 4 years ago.
I'm so sorry, by the way, for your loss.
Yes, thank you.
Because you can tell that she is the angel over your shoulder watching over you, and so proud of the decisions you've made. And you say, nobody taught me how to do this or that or the other thing, but anybody looking at you can say, you sure learned.
I did. And my mom, I actually have a video of her before her passing. We're in the hospital and she said, how did you know to do all the things that you've done? You're such an amazing mom and you took care of me so well. How did you know that? I said, she was, because I didn't know and I didn't teach you. I said, I just did the opposite of what you did. It was that simple. And she's like, right, thank you. You know? And that's all I knew to do. So when my mom passed away, I started getting these really great pains in my knees and my ankles and within weeks. And I couldn't go up my stairs. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. And we're talking, I've been working out for 20 something years. I
So about
mean,
how old were you at this point?
this was almost 4 years ago. So I was just about to turn 47. Yeah, for almost about to turn 47. My mom was about to turn 74 right before she died.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I got these pains. I went to the doctor, like I've been going for years, asking questions and
Hmm.
getting, the whole body shame and you're not enough and all that. And they're like, well, we really don't know. You probably hurt yourself when you were working out or whatever. This is a really strange story.
I love strange stories.
Yeah, it's very spiritual. So the way that I found out I had lipedema was I never had an Instagram. I only had Facebook. And I had just gotten off Facebook because to me, Facebook's very negative and I just couldn't handle it. So I got off of Facebook and I was grieving when my mom died. And that I really took the time when she passed to say, okay, excuse me, who am I? I didn't even know who I was. I've never been allowed to get to know who I am. I've never done the things I've always wanted to do because I've always had to take care of my mother and raise a child. So I didn't really understand who Lisa was. So I got the Instagram. For some reason, something in me just kept telling me, get Instagram, get Instagram. I'm like, ugh. So I went to my son and I said, I'm supposed to get Instagram. I don't know why, but I don't know anything about it. Help me. So he and his girlfriend helped me. And I'm like, what do I do with this thing? They're like, just start posting pictures. I go, of what? They're like, just post anything. It'll come to you. So I kind of posted here and there, and all of a sudden things started popping up on like the feed. And this doctor popped up with these pictures of legs, like just legs just popped up. And I said, wow, those look like my mom's legs, and those look like my legs. And I started looking and I ignored it, and it kept popping up every day. It would pop up. And I'm like, what am I doing? What's happening? Something told me to look. So I went on the site, I looked at all this, and something told me call. So I called there and I said, I saw your site, it keeps popping up. I think I have legs like that and I need to talk to the doctor. And then I went in, and when he walked in, I don't know, I felt like a lot of peace. I felt like he was the answer. It was just a weird spiritual feeling. And he looked at me, I got undressed, and he said, sorry, but you have lipedema and you're in stage 3. I said, what? Lipedema? He's like, yeah. I go, what is that? And he told me what it was. And I was in shock. And I said, that sounds like what my mom said she might have. He says, no, that's lymphedema. And so he explained to me what lymphedema was and what lipedema was. And he told me what I would need to do. And then I went home and I spoke to a friend, and they referred me to their doctor, which I happened to actually know from another visit from years ago. And he knew about lipedema, and he gave me a second diagnosis of lipedema. So then I went home and spoke to my son about it. And I took about a month to think about it. And mind you, I'm still grieving my mother. And I thought about all the things that she did do and didn't do. And I thought, this is finally my chance at like 47 years old to have a life, to get to know who I am as a person inside and out, and just live. So what am I going to do? Am I going to not only watch my mom suffer for years and then die? Am I going to be that person and like make my son be me and take care of me because I didn't have a life? What am I going to do? So I decided I didn't have the money. I didn't know where to get it from, but I was jumping off that cliff, and I did. And I just went for it. And I had to have 2 surgeries just for the bottom half because I didn't have it anywhere else. They were extremely painful. It was not an easy thing to do. It's very scary. But I did everything the doctor told me to do by the book. And I really took this time to just heal myself, and also not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and just really isolate and do whatever it took to better myself.
There's so much depth to everything you're saying, LysaMarie, and I honor you and thank you for being so candid and honest with us about your journey. We always say in these interviews, one person's path doesn't necessarily fit everybody.
Right.
But if something in what LysaMarie is saying resonates with you, then we encourage that. Many people talk about listening to their body and knowing what to do by listening to their body. But you've said something really key. You listened to the nudge in your spirit. And
Yes.
that nudge was leading you toward Instagram and then ultimately to the doctor who performed your surgery. So listening to your internal barometer is an important part of your success story as well. And I'm so glad you shared that part. So what
Yeah.
next? You had surgeries, you're getting your life back. You're reinventing LysaMarie. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Um, I didn't know you were going to ask me that. um, I have a lot going on. I also, can I just add something to that, what we were
Of
talking about before?
course. Yes.
'Cause there's a lot of people out there that have gone through gastric bypass surgeries,
Mm,
and I am a gastric bypass patient also. I forgot to put that in there.
yeah,
But
tell us.
I had gastric bypass years before my mom was ill enough to, pass, because I didn't know why I couldn't lose weight, and I was trying for years and years and years and years, and I just couldn't do it. And I was in a abusive marriage, and that made it worse. And then once I got out, I actually happened to meet a gynecologist, and she spoke to me about my weight, and she helped me to get the surgery. So I had it done. That it was not, it was just a tool. It was not an answer, because I had to do, I mean, it's really hard. You have your whole system changes. You can't just eat what you want. There's people that gain the weight back because they force their stomach to stretch out, which is extremely painful. And there's also people that have died from these surgeries. So it's not an answer to weight loss. It's a tool, and it's really hard. And all these years later, I'm still having to stay within certain standards and way to do things to eat because of my gastric bypass. And I bring this up to you because after I lost 155 pounds, and then I gained back 55 pounds within, I think like the first 4 or 5 years, because I was 367 pounds at one time. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So,
Hard to believe.
yeah.
And this is an example of how you would do anything to change your circumstance. And
Yeah.
you had mentioned that you are an aesthetic person and you are beautiful and you take good care of yourself and your hair and your makeup and all of that. But it was also about your health, not
Yeah.
just the aesthetics.
Not at all. It was not about my body at all, but I had gained so much weight through being in an abusive marriage, and 367 pounds, I can't even believe that I had gotten there, and I was so miserable and in so much pain all the time. So when I got the gastric bypass and lost 155, within 4 or 5 years, I'm going to guesstimate, if 55 pounds came on, I was like, I am not going back there. So I started obsessing about eating, obsessing about working out. Working out, if I had to work late, I would work out anyway. I'd be out 9, 10 o'clock at night running stairs at the beach, up at 4 or 5 in the morning to make sure I work out before work. When can I get a workout? And thinking, if I just dedicate myself enough, I'll get there. And I always wanted to be a bodybuilder when I was a teenager. And I never got to do that because my body was just always something or an issue of some kind. So by this time I was like, I can't take this anymore. I'm so tired of dealing with my weight. And so when I got the diagnosis from Dr. Amron, I was so angry. I had so many emotions when I went home. I was crying. I was pissed. I was like, all the work I put in and all the sacrifice. I was just super angry about it because that 55 pounds was not going to come off. I could have like killed myself trying to get it off and it wouldn't have come off.
Do you realize that for some women that have just found our channel, you've given them such relief to know that you can be doing everything, and this is the disease that will not respond to
Not
all the diet and all the exercise in the world. It's not anything that you could physically do. And you tried everything physically possible.
everything. And I am not exaggerating
So
at
thank God
all.
for Instagram and finding out what it really was.
Yes, yes. So hopefully, I'm sorry I backtracked. I got a little
No, I'm
lost.
glad you did. I wanted to touch on that, and I wasn't sure where in your journey the gastric bypass took place. A lot
Yeah.
of women do that thinking it's going to help, but it doesn't affect the lipedema
No.
fat.
No. And honestly, this entire process was not about being, oh, I want to be beautiful and I want to be this and that. I just wanted to be healthy because I was terrified watching my mom be unhealthy my
Sure.
whole life. I was so
Right.
scared to be her and be in a wheelchair and have to depend on caretakers to wash my dishes, and I was just terrified, and I did not want that for my son either. I want my son to have a beautiful life, or whatever life he wants to have. I want him to have it,
Yeah.
So this is mostly about my son and about me having freedom because I haven't lived yet, not really, and I want to go. I want to live. I want to be able to walk and
Watch
be.
out,
I love
world.
to be,
Watch
yeah.
out, world. LysaMarie is, and I'll tell you what, if you want an example, you should go to her Instagram and follow her at Mata_Moros 48. And I'll put a graphic up that says that your photos are inspiring. So you finally learned what to put on Instagram, huh?
I did. It's just my story from beginning to end, actually. So
That's awesome. So you are involved with a few other things like singing.
yes,
Let's
yes. I've
talk
been
about
singing.
that.
Well, I've been singing since I was 3 years old. I started singing in church, singing gospel music. And I used to want to be, this big famous singer when I was little, purely, honestly, just to take care of my mom and give her everything because she didn't have parents, she didn't have a good childhood, and I just wanted to like make it so that I could just spoil my mom and take care of her and just give her like the life I thought that she deserved. And that was my major intention when I was a kid. Nothing panned out. I tried as hard as I could. I did what I could, and nothing ever opened up and happened. And so I finally gave up on singing altogether because I felt like it just broke my heart and it was too much for me. So I stopped singing, and I didn't even sing in the shower. I just cut singing off completely. And it's actually just started to rise up in me again, I shall say, in the last year, because I'm a Reiki master and I work with energy. And so I was stuck on a lot of things that I was trying to work on within myself and changing my perceptions about things, and I couldn't get unstuck. So I was kind of forced to go back to music. And because before I would just say, "Oh, I'll go listen to a live band and dance it off. I'll be fine," but I wouldn't sing in bands or anything anymore. Or I'll just go do karaoke once in a while, maybe, I don't know. And then we had the pandemic and all that. So I had literally no outlet, no karaoke, no dancing, no nothing. So I started coming to my office and started doing this Voicey app that someone told me about. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool because I can like jam with other people and not even really have to be bothered with anyone. And it just kind of started turning into my emotions about like, it'll just come out about lipedema. And so I just felt led to start posting these little short snippets of me singing. And like behind me, I have some brochures. It's
I
from the
see.
Lipedema Foundation about what is lipedema.
Yeah.
And so I was in my office doing this, and I just started creating something about my feelings about it. And, what don't I already know? Tell me something new that I don't know about this disease. And so I just started posting here and there when it comes up. And so I find that I'm like my creativity and my expression for, excuse me, other things are just kind of arising and helping me to move those blockages inside of me and kind of bust out and be who I am. So I'm grateful for music and that I want to sing again.
I sort of have goosebumps because it feels like your story is a reawakening, a rebirth,
It is.
re coming back to who you really are, the authentic LysaMarie with all the gifts that you were created with and now free to express them instead of hiding. So many of the women I speak with say that they spent many years hiding just
Yes.
because they weren't comfortable with their bodies, or they just wanted to be put the spotlight on someone else. And
Yeah.
yet you shine, and
Thank
your
you.
shine is helping others to reclaim themselves, which is a beautiful thing. So you are a Reiki. How did you get to be a Reiki master, by the way? Was this part of your spiritual path as you
Yes.
were, was this when you were taking care of your mom or afterward?
Afterwards, my mom had many, many spiritual gifts, and I grew up watching her use them and with helping other people. But as a child, you see your parents doing stuff, you have an understanding, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's my mom laying hands on somebody praying or whatever, because you're used to it. I grew up
Yeah.
in church. I lived in church. We're always in church. It was a major part of our lives. So after she passed, she was my covering spiritually also. And I was really devastated because who am I going to go to now and talk about spiritual stuff? Who am I going to, when I need prayer and I'm desperate and only mom can help, who am I going to call? I'm alone. So it kind of forced me to, deal with the little girl inside and say, hey, I'm the adult now and I got this and we're going to take care of everything. And so honestly, I can't tell you how it happened. It just happened, like with finding Dr. Amron. Spiritually, people just started coming into my life, and helping me and leading me and telling me things that, oh, you should try this. And, I took this Reiki class. What's Reiki? And then I'd go and I'd kind of freak out because my mindset was really stuck in religion, not so much, it's kind of like in religion and spirituality, and I was really confused. So I cried a lot because I thought, is this bad what I'm doing? Is this am I a witch? Like what is this? Because it's working and my hands are on fire and I have all this energy coming out of me, and so it was like really a powerful awakening for me and of who I am. And then I started getting these memories of my mother doing the same thing I'm doing. And I'm like, oh my God, this
That's
is
what that was.
this is the same thing. And it's biblical. And I go in the Bible and I look and I research and like, is this the same thing that I learned? And because I love God. I'm not perfect, but I just love him and he's everything to me. So my main thing is to please him. I don't care about pleasing anyone else. And yes, I hid a long time. I hid when I was a makeup artist. I hid behind the camera and I did makeup and hair for the models and I posed the models and I did all that because I love doing that. I love being creative. Singing, when I was a little girl, I would practice all day while my siblings would play outside. I wouldn't even leave my room because I loved music and singing so much, but I wanted my mom to hear me. So I'd tell her, come to the room, but I'd shut the door and tell her, you have to be outside the door because I'm too shy for you to look at me. So I grew up never wanting any attention because my siblings would tell me, you're ugly and no one's going to like you. And they would be so mean to me that I was always a closed person. I didn't really want anyone to give me attention. I don't want to be seen or heard. So singing was always real hard for me. Expressing myself was hard for me. Then when I gained weight, I felt like that was kind of a protection for me against men or unwanted attention. And I've just always hid. And so my Instagram is really about all of my insecurities, which makes me even more insecure that I'm showing everybody. But that has turned my life into who I am now. And I have a lot of things going on that are in the works in here and actually physically that's going to help the community where I live. Um, I am working on bringing together lipedema support group within my community, either on Zoom or hopefully, depending on the rules and everything, in the office, where people can also receive MLD eventually, because we really need it in our area. There's literally like maybe one or two people in my area that do MLD, and
Well,
it
and
takes
just
months
so
to
for
get
our
it
viewers, they don't know where you're located. You're in what part of California?
in Southern California.
Southern California.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm really working on some things that could help people and accommodate them in my area. I have a passion for this because to me, I want to honor my mother. I want to honor her memory. I want to do all the things that I know for a fact that if she really understood this disease and what it was about, and she had a community like I do to understand her, then she would have been so involved. She would have done all these things. And I know she's leading me now because I have a lot of gifts that my mom had, plus more. And I won't go into them. But I know she's with me. Let's just say
Oh,
that.
totally.
And I know
Totally.
she's leading me. And so her and I are doing our thing. And I don't want to cry. And I'm trying really hard not to because I'm a crybaby. Okay. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. And it makes me sad because, you know, every single day my mom was alone in her house. If I wasn't there, she was alone. If the caretaker wasn't there, which was only a certain amount of hours, she was alone. So that put a lot of stress on my life because I was her everything. I didn't even have time to get to know who I was, let alone have a boyfriend. That never worked out. That was a package deal. But my mom was very lonely. And when I think about the community and all that's out there right now, and I'm gonna cry, my God. Okay. It makes me sad to think about how my mom sat there every day alone, not understanding or realizing that there are others out here that could have supported her, and my mom could have had such a more peaceful, happier existence because she would have had lippy sisters and lymphy sisters to talk to and someone to understand her. And when I think about that, I cry and I get sad. And that's basically why I'm so passionate about this, because I don't want to see any other people go through what my mom went through. And
So here's what's interesting. I've been thinking about the word expansion and the word contraction. Hang in there with me for a minute. So I believe that our lives continually expand and grow and get bigger, but we go through periods of contraction, of pain, just like when a woman is giving birth, they have contractions.
yeah,
And maybe there are people out there right now going through a contraction time, but that leads to expansion. It's the opposite, right? So I feel like the pain and the sorrow and the sadness associated with your mom was a contraction, but it's birthed this expansion that's
yeah,
helping so many people. And you're right, she is, whispering in your ear and nudging you, just like you were nudged to go to Instagram. You're nudged to create this integrative experience for women with lipedema and lymphedema. I applaud it. I think it's amazing. And I
yeah.
have to say, what was your mom's name?
Gail, Wendy Gail. Yeah.
Well, she is honored throughout this interview. She was a
Thank
part of this very interview, and she is so proud
thank you. I
of
really
what you have done and what you are going to do.
yeah.
So I have to ask you, aside from the spiritual aspect of how you manage your life, tell me about how you practically manage your lipedema on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I do follow the diet that it's given to us, and mostly like keto. I call it like a keto paleo mix type of thing. And I am gastric bypass, so I do have to eat a certain way, like under 15 milligrams of sugar, no fried foods, because then I'll get sick. So I have a lot to deal with. I do wear compression every single day, although the doctor says I really don't need to. but it does help to support my lymphatic system, which is what I'm really concerned about. I have a lot of loose skin on my body from such a huge weight loss. So it does make me feel better walking around. I feel like a more complete whole person when I have the compression on. But
Yeah.
when I don't, I feel like a cat with wet paws. You know, I kind of just don't know how to walk or anything because it doesn't feel comfortable with the skin hanging on me. So, and I work out, I go walking. I do have a pronation in my left ankle, which has made it even harder for me to, you know, exercise and things of that sort. So I do have a lot of what the other ladies have within the community with my ankles and my knees and just you name it, you already know, right? But I don't let that get me to stop working out. I think to myself, well, okay, if I can't go walking because of my pronation, can I go rowing? Okay, my shoulder's messed up. I can't go rowing. Now what can I do? I just keep trying to figure out what I can do to keep it moving because I don't want it to grow back and I don't want nothing to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's mostly diet, keeping it moving. Um, I do get lymphatic drainage done at least twice a month. However, I haven't been able to do it in quite a long time since the shutdown.
Yeah. The
I did
pandemic has really affected people, which is, and I'm going to throw my little commercial in here, which is why the at-home pneumatic compression that Lympha Press offers, where you just pull up the pants up, we have a Lympha pants and press the button and you are getting that massage from the Optimal Plus. And if anybody is watching and interested in that, private message me, I will hook you up. Because in this world where you can't necessarily get a doctor's appointment for hands-on treatment, the Optimal Plus is the way to do it at home, especially for lipedema patients. So I inserted that, and I'm going to talk to you later about that. Absolutely.
I want to. I really, really, I'm interested and I would really love to check it out, honestly.
We don't require that someone use the Optimal Plus to do these interviews. I just look for fascinating, inspiring people who have a story that deserves to be told. And LysaMarie, you are absolutely that. And as time is running out, I'd love to give you the platform to look at the camera and encourage someone out there who maybe just discovered lipedema or is looking for hope to help face this diagnosis and live a beautiful life and reclaim who they are. You got the floor, LysaMarie.
Oh, great. Well, I will say this. If you're giving up not only on yourself, you're giving up on your loved ones, you're giving up on your children. And I don't know about you, but for me, my fight was all about honoring my mother, giving her a second chance, and honoring my son and giving him an opportunity to have freedom to be him. So if you have children or loved ones that are taking care of you, trust me, even if they're not telling you, it's a burden. If you're not trying and doing your part, it makes it worse for the caregiver. I was the caregiver. I know, and I'm going to tell you raw, if you're not trying and you're not doing everything that needs to be done and doing your part, even if you don't think you have the energy to take that one step, take that step for your caregiver. Take that step for your kid because it matters to them, because that's where the problem comes in. Okay, you can't just like lay there and die and wait to die. You have a right to live also, and if you help yourself and if you change this inside here and your perception, you will change everything else. But it all starts up here, and that is what my page is about, and that's why I post the things I post and talk about perception. Because if you have a bad nasty attitude and you're just negative all the time, somebody doesn't want me to say what I have to say. Excuse me.
We want you to say it.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you'll never change, but it all starts up here. And that's why my page is all about mind, body, and spirit, because it all coincides together to heal yourself. You have to heal yourself. However that you do it, because you're important and you matter. And this is a disease and it's not your fault. And if you need to talk or whatever, you have a page that is real and on the up and up, because I can tell I'm there for you. Just reach out to the community. There's a lot of people out here that are amazing and supportive, and we don't all, resonate with each other. That's why we all need to be together as a group and help everybody. So I encourage you to step up.
Drop the mic. Perfect. That was amazing. You are a joy. It was a privilege to interview today, and I'm excited to share your story with everyone. If you know someone who has a wonderful lipedema story and it deserves to be told like LysaMarie's, please email me. I would love to spend a half hour with them and share their story on the Lipedema channel. I'm a little choked up because this is a woman who was nervous about being interviewed, and instead she gave us all goosebumps. So I will tell you, LysaMarie, you don't need to be nervous about anything anymore. You just go shine, girl, okay?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be heard. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
It was
Thank
my
you.
joy and pleasure. You have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see you next time at the Lipedema Channel.